Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, and today I want to bring you some information on what's going to be happening with the channel, as well as my list preview for the game that I will be facing off against Lane later tonight. More on that in a minute. I'm sure the thumbnail has piqued someone's interest on, wait, what army is that? And yes, wasn't a mistake. I'm playing Orks. So, first and foremost, thank you all for all the support going forward. And we appreciate it, and as we continue to grow and continue to try to expand the channel. However, it's become, I don't want to say, there's a lot of work that's involved with it. I primarily do the editing. So Lane and I have discussed, and here in the near future, we're going to be going over to once a week battle reports, or every other week battle reports. Now, during the times that we don't do the battle reports, there will be more individual content and certain things we're going to be trying out. This is not us backing away. This is us trying to go forward and grow. And being able to have that time between battle reports allow us to create utilize technology in a different way to create a better product, create better battle reports, better videos, better content in general. As some of you may have seen with the recent battle report or the recent video I made, talking about the Ministrum Field Manual and all the points, this is something I'm trying. The reason is it is difficult, as some of you may have seen. I'm expecting 2 baby girls now. So having 5 kids, a full-time job, and trying to build, paint, and edit, I am the primary editor for most of the videos here, starts to put us a bit in the backlog, as you'll see with the army I'm playing today. So by going to every other week battle reports, this gives me more time to be able to work on things like creating new terrain, painting and getting models ready, because it is embarrassing and I don't like not having at least base level painted armies for myself, but it's become difficult, very difficult. So in doing this will allow us to be able to have that time to get these armies ready, to try new things, try new ways of presenting data, and all around just make more entertaining content. Try and do things that other people aren't doing. And all in all, it's about the entertainment value and the information that we bring. So this isn't us stepping down to go away. This isn't, oh, well, it's become too much, so we're only going to be able to release 2 battle reports a month. No, it's that we want to not only release the 2 battle reports a month, pretty much, because 4 weeks, but we want to also release other things and start to grow into that other direction. I would love nothing else than to be able to quit my full-time job and do this full-time. Again, with the babies on the way, that's difficult. That is the goal, and that's what we're striving for. But to get there, we need to, this is a more point in time where Lane said it best, reduce the quantity to increase the quality. And that's what we're going to be looking at. Now, the quantity is actually still going to be there, but some of it will be things that are much simpler on myself to be able to edit, where I'm able to come down and just talk about specific things. But at that time frames too, this will allow me to be able to build up maybe more of a data library. So during some of the battles, we can put stratagems up and enhanced the cards the way that I have them displayed. And all in all, be able to take that time to sit down and start developing a library of little tools to enhance everything here. So with the fact that my wife is going to be going on summer break here soon, that will allow me to have more time to sit down with those things and do these things, as well with the fact when we start to create this, because I'm the primary editor, because I'm the primary one doing all this stuff on this side, this is stuff that Lane will be able to assist me with when we are able to sit down that off week, the week that we aren't doing a battle report. We're still getting together and we're still going to treat it like a business and talk about these things. And when we come up with a list, there's a list of things where he can go, okay, you know what? I could go home and scan all the cards and put them on a file and get them to you and stuff like that. So there's a lot. And I'm not saying that that's what Lane's going to do. So if he watches this and sees that and says, hey, I didn't sign up for that. No, I know. But this is where we're going with it. Now, the reason I want to make that as part of this video is because of what I'm playing tonight. I am bringing the WOG. I am playing Orks, and I was not anticipating doing this. So my buddy who lives in Florida, Calvin, sent me a bunch of orcs. He hasn't been able to play it. He sent me all this stuff, and he's like, if there's ever a time that orcs are good, you got them. You're doing the channel, you got orcs, you put up on the channel. So I worked on them a little bit, but then everything else, Grey Knights and Necrons and Admech and all these other armies and everything else that working on, that they weren't the top focus because everything needed painted. As opposed to Grey Knights where it's like, oh, I need to paint one model or two models here. Then the Codex release. So I went and picked it up because I have the Orks, and I felt like this would be something great to showcase on the channel, to bring out for everyone there. Like that was my entire thought. I was like, hey, there is definitely people who are going to want to see Orks on the channel. And not even in the sense of go Orks, but Orks versus Lane's Votan, Orks versus the Custodes, Orks versus all these other armies and stuff like that as we move forward. Because, you know, Orks have that up and down lifestyle where they're the worst army in the game or they're super hard to take down. And right now there is a Knobs detachment that I think is really strong, but that's not the one I'm playing. When I flipped through the book, I was looking through it, I bought it, I flipped through it, I started looking, and I saw one detachment. And that is the Mob of Death Dread detachment. And I probably said that wrong, and I'll fix it in a second. But man, this looks cool. Man, this looks a lot of fun. And it looks like it could be really, really strong too. So I couldn't resist. So yes, this is an ugly looking army, which takes to the fact of me not having enough time to be able to even get the base level work on it done. You know, not being able to go and prime everything and base coat everything and let it sit and dry and then move through to at least get things to a base level before the video. All right, we're going to run through this quick, but let's go over and take a look at the army I'm bringing today and talk about a little more after. All right, here it is, the Dread Mob. Told you I'd get it right because now I can look at the book. And I also told you that this thing is ugly. Okay, so I'll try and go quickly so I don't hurt everyone's eyes with all the gray. And I do apologize. This is what I'm talking about. Not having the time to be able to jump on things. If I had 2 weeks before running this, well, or a full week, I could get a lot done. I could get a lot done to get this to the base level of it. But again, I picked the book up as soon as it came out, and I did not anticipate that I was going to fall in love with this detachment as much as I did. So yeah, I am a big fan of the Ork vehicles, big fan of Ork walkers. So this was definitely seeing this and seeing how potent this could be. Whew, I love it. So first, I am going to state the detachment rule is called try that button. So mech, Ork walker, and grot vehicles. Remember, if a character joins a unit, they gain that keyword. So any of the units that can be joined by a mech would be a mech unit. Ork walkers are Killicans, Dreads, Stampa, Mork and Gorkanaut. Those are the walkers. And then the grot vehicles would actually, the biggest reference for that is actually the artillery, the artillery guns, which I'm not running any of those in this right now, maybe in the future, but not at this time. I mean, the Ork artillery, there's some cool, like the Bubble Chukka looks decent, but things like the tractor beam with a single shot don't appeal to me initially, especially when we're talking about Ork shooting. All right, so let's go over this again. All right, so we got, first of all, try that button. Like I said, what this is basically whenever you declare that you're whenever you are selecting a unit to shoot or fight. So from my belief, this is when you Overwatch as well, because it's when you shoot or fight. Roll a d6. Until the end of the phase, the weapons that are equipped to these models have the corresponding ability. 1 through 2, sustained hits. 3 and 4, lethal hits. 5 and 6, critical wounds get +2 AP. Alternatively, you can just pick one of these, but then that gives the weapon hazardous. If the weapon already has hazardous, then the hazardous effects trigger on a 1 and 2. So this is one time that the hazardous stacks with these other abilities, so you have to kind of be careful with it. Now, the other kicker for this attachment is Gretchen units gain battle line. That's why I have 4 Gretchen units. All right. So a lot of this attachment, I'm going to do this really quick because being the first time playing this, I don't know as much of how certain things are going to work, how things are going to function. And this is a lot of slap it all in there and try it out and then the second time through, I'll have a better idea of what's going to do what. So, first things first, like I said, I have 4 units of Grots. Because I could take more than 3 because they are battle line. In this detachment, I took 4 of them. 2 of them are going to start the game in the Mork and Gorkanaut that I have, since it does have transport capacity, and 2 will be on the table. Now, the cool thing about Grots is they can help me generate CP when they're on objective markers, which I'm going to want some command points for this list. Next up, we have our Killicans. I have a 6-man squad that is going to be toting flamers, and then you got 2 3-man squads. 3-man squads are going to have rockets. Grots shoot a little bit better than every other orc. So, and these guys also have their abilities, which is kind of weird and out there for being able to roll dice and get certain perks and buffs, or even damage themselves, where they can get, let's see, +1 strength or an additional shot. And they also have that ballistic skill 4. Now, I like the Scorchas because the Scorchas have AP 1 to them. And also that Overwatch is pretty nasty there too. They would be a unit that only would obviously benefit from really the +2 AP because they don't have a hit roll because of that, but still pretty nice. Now, we've talked about those 2 units. We'll go over to our 1 single Dread. We have a Death Dread. Death Dreads are, in my opinion, a little pricey because they're kind of a frontline unit at 130 points. They are a little bit quicker, and they do have a bunch of attacks. So we'll see how this guy does. I'm going with the 4 Claw Close Combat option. Next up, we have something that isn't what it is, but it is going to be what it is today, and that is our 3 mechs. So I don't have any mechs at all. I will probably take my Goth Rocker and get him on a 32. The original reason I picked these guys was my first belief was that mechs were on 40, and then I looked it up and found out they're on 32 millimeter base. So the Goth Rocker, I'll probably switch him over to the 32 because there's literally like nothing that he can be used for. You can comment down below. There might be something I'm missing and not thinking about, but it really seems like there's really no way to use this model as anything that involves a 40 millimeter base. So I'm going to put him on a 32. Then I'm using a Pain Boss and a Weird Boy as the other 2 mechs until I can convert them. Mechs do have a one thing for tournaments especially. You want to have some conversions, some different unique things for your army. So mechs, I feel like, are a very, very strong way to get some conversions in there for some cool looking models. These guys are basic. These guys are going to be a big pivotal linchpin for a lot of stuff in my army. They can heal the vehicles, as well as the fact that they can give +1 to hit to that vehicle. So that's going to be huge for some of the things that hit on 5s, or even for the Killicans that are hitting on 4s going all the way up to 3s, which would be pretty cool. They have low op when they're near vehicles, so that'll keep them safe. But yeah, these are going to be the mechs for today's game. That's why I wanted to use the character models. Again, I thought originally they were on 40s, found out they're on 32s, so I'm going to adjust that here in some time. Next up, we'll go with the big boys, Gork and Mork. I'm bringing both of them. Now, on paper, these guys don't look like anything special. The Morkanaut's got a better invuln, and it's got more of the anti-tank, anti-armor gun. The Gorkanaut has a weaker invuln, but has shots and punches for days. What's interesting, though, with them, and what I like with them, is the fact that they do have 20 wounds, and because of their high wound cost, and they're under 300 points. So I think they're at a decent spot that they're not overcosted for what they do, but they're not so cheap that it's like, oh, this is going to be broken and needs to be nerfed. I think there might be at a solid point. They could maybe use to have maybe 10 points shaved off them a little bit, but I will go with it for now. I haven't tried them yet, so we'll see. Now, what I like with these guys is because of that button rule and being able to trigger a bunch of different hazardous effects, these guys have 20 wounds. So they have wounds to spend on these abilities, which means that I can funnel some CP into these guys, and I think that I can really, really light some stuff up with them and probably hurt themselves too. People who play Magic the Gathering might be familiar with the black, like Suicide Black decks is what they're called, in which case your life is a resource that you spend in order to win the game. I feel like that's going to be the case with a lot of this army, and specifically these 2 models that have 20 wounds apiece. All right, the last 2, which we're going to talk about together. First, we have a mech in Mega Armor leading 5 Mega Armor knobs. These guys are so durable. So I gave the enhancement that gives them stealth. We'll start with there. On top of it, he gives a 4-up invuln because of his force shield to the unit. On top of that, when we call the Wa, which gives us an invuln, advance in charge, and all that fun stuff, the Mega Knobs will also get a 4-up feel no pain. So you're looking at a squad that is going to be -1 to hit, 2-up save, 4-up invuln, 4-up feel no pain, 3 wounds apiece. These guys are mega tough. Looking forward to getting them out there. I think that Mega Knobs are in my opinion, Mega Knobs are the biggest winner out of this codex entirely. There's another detachment that suits them even better, but here's another detachment, a second detachment that could do really, really well with them, and has decent character support in that realm. These guys are going to, in this matchup, most likely, be floating around in the battle wagon. Now, this battle wagon, yes, it is a monstrosity, and it is a piece in a puzzle that I'm working on. I have christened this battle wagon the Mastodon, and I still need to work on getting the Death Killer Rolla on it. I want to do a little extra work to its Zap Gun, which I have situated on top, and I need to get a Grabbing Claw and a Wrecking Ball on it. Now, initially, when I got all this stuff was 9th edition, and in 9th edition, you had to pay for all these things, so it wasn't worth it. And for many, many years, many Ork players will know, the one thing that's disappointing about the battle wagon is it never really can function like a battle wagon, because you're just taking it as a bigger transport. It might have a good close combat ability, it might not, but that's where it kind of ends. And then when you look at all the guns, it's like, man, this thing can have a lot of guns, but then when you put them all on it, you're looking at almost a 300-point vehicle, and you're like, okay, it's 300 points, it does nothing. Now, all that stuff is built into the cost at 160 points. So yeah, you take everything. You take everything you can. The only limitations come down to, if you take a kill cannon, you lose transport capacity. If you take an ARD case, you lose firing deck. So those are really the only things that you need to keep in mind and think about for that sense. So the battle wagon will be carrying the knobs, just so that I have some protection for them. Even though they are super durable, I would not want to have to pop the wall or lose guys early. And yeah, battle wagon, love it. And obviously, this one needs some work. For it still needs the Death Killer Roller, with which the name of the Mastodon. I'm trying to decide how I want to do that up. And then the Wrecking Ball and the Grabbing Claw, not 100% sure there, where I want to mount those to it yet. And I haven't decided. I might put some Orks on it. I might put some Grots. I kind of like as you can see with my Killicans, I'm kind of leaning towards Bad Moon. So I might put some Grots on this thing instead of Orks to kind of man the guns and things like that, and have Gretchen all over it. But it's going to be a project. Battle wagons are awesome centerpieces for an army if you put some work into them, and I've seen some amazing ones. So that's where my mindset is for this battle wagon. And the last unit, 5 Storm Boys. They deep strike. They're cheap. That's really about it. They're there for secondary mission play. They're not much else. 65 points, deep striking unit. Yes, please. So the post game for this is actually going to bring a lot more information, because we'll be able to talk a lot more about that, as well as probably during the battle report, because the stratagems, it's really tough to digest right now in a coherent fashion. In the future, if people are curious, I could do a video just talking about that and stuff, but I want to at least play it one time first before I can even talk about that. The strats do have an ability. They have basically a 2-tier ability. The first one, what you're doing. The second one, which is in that same idea, whether it's shooting effect, a reroll effect, and a movement effect, but better. And they say you can push it. So if you push it, you get a better effect, but you run the risk of doing damage to yourself, gaining hazardous in other ways. So this army, it's like you could do a lot of damage and really hit things hard and go across the field far, sure to fall apart in the process and do a damage to yourself, which to me is as orky as you can get. So that's one of the reasons I want to play this. This could possibly be one of the funnest attachments I've seen in 40K so far that still actually could be competitive. I mean, you spend all the resources, you have 20 wounds in a model that over the course of the game may be irrelevant because your opponent's like, okay, I can't take it down. So you're like, all right, well, my 20 wounder doesn't matter as much. Now I'm going to spend those 20 wounds to do extra damage to you. I mean, the Gatling on the Gorkanaut is what it is 20 shots with rapid fire 10. So 30 shots off that. Let's go ahead and give it sustain. Let's give it +1 to hit. Let's give it full rerolls off a strat. Now we're hazardous 2 with that because of sustain, auto picking the sustained. There's a strat that'll give me the full rerolls to hit, and we're hitting on 4s. And with sustained on 30 shots, yeah, we're going to do some damage to ourselves. But either way, you're only rolling 1 dice for that weapon to end up doing 3 mortal wounds to yourself. Also, that's the big kicker about these weapons and a lot of that stuff, is it's 3 mortal wounds. Things like the Killer Cans have more than 3 mortal wounds. Might be a little less leery to do it on the mechs, which are 3 wounds, and they do pull a full model either way, but we'll see how it rolls. So that's basically everything. Lane is going to be bringing some bots too. This is going to be a bot punch fest. That's every time I bring robots, Lane's like, oh, I'll bring robots too. I'm like, I can't argue it. Robot wars. Here we go. You got, and I made the joke of saying this is robots versus wrestlers, because he's bringing robots and dreadnoughts and redemptors and things like that. And I'm playing Orks, which honestly, when I'm going to work on a display for this, it's going to be a wrestling ring, because that's what I see Orks as. Orks would be bored, build a wrestling rings, and just fight each other. Except it wouldn't be scripted. They would actually be fighting each other. But hey, still hitting each other with shares. I'm happy. I'm entertained. All right, guys. As always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.